What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Aaron Hepler, your host. You're listening to the InCamp Podcast. Here we talk all hunting, all fishing, and all the hard-earned lessons that keep us coming back season after season. And if we're talking about the hard things, this is the guy that you want to listen to. I'm on the line with Coach Mandler, or AKA his real name, Chandler Marchman. This guy is a beast in the kettlebell world, in the fitness, hard grind, beat yourself up status, whatever you want to call it. This guy is awesome. And this is a really great conversation where we mix fitness and hunting and all the things that you really want to work at to grind to get you through a season. And, in a month, everybody's going to have a New Year's resolution. So, you know what? This is a guy who can help you build one and stick with it. He's got some really great ideas. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Chandler is a really awesome dude, and I think you're going to enjoy hearing from him. This is InCamp Podcast. We are on with Mr. Chandler Marchman. This is where you get to tell people about yourself. If you could please introduce yourself, that would be awesome.
All right, I am Chandler Marchman. I am an online fitness coach, trainer. I don't know what you want to call it, but at the end of the day, what I do is I help typically guys in the 40 and up range build a lot of strength, stamina, burn fat, just overall get in shape to help empower themselves and to help make them a better version of what they want to be for themselves and more so their family. So the specific way I do that is through, kettlebell training and cleaning up their diet and doing so in a way that doesn't make them feel like an absolute slave to the process.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, man. I've kind of been following along with you for 2 or 3 years now, and you're one of the first people that really got me interested in kettlebells because you kind of kept it simple, like nothing crazy long. And we talked about already about some of the things that can intimidate people about using kettlebells or just about getting in shape in general.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me what's your background in training and fitness?
Yeah, so I got my training, I got my kind of start into being like kind of addicted to the iron, if you will. When I was a competitive athlete in high school, I was a baseball player, and the only way I was going to get on the field is if I stood out in some capacity. And power was something that not many baseball players typically have. It's back when I was in high school, it was it was kind of frowned upon to kind of lift weights in baseball at that time. Football it obviously took off, but nevertheless, baseball, you were always taught to be limber. So I was like, the hell with that. Like I got to do something to get on the field.
Yeah.
Batter's box. Right. So, started to lift weights, did the conventional kind of progressive overload, kind of bodybuilding style of training, which when you're that young and you have that much testosterone naturally just pulsing through your entire body, like anything you do is going to get you solid results.
Yeah.
And lucky enough for me, I got some pretty good results pretty quickly and managed to work my way into a position where I could contribute to the team. And that was really my start into training. But what really got me into the coaching side of things was when my athletic career, kind of got shelved. And when I got into college, I still had that competitive spirit in me and was looking for an outlet for that. And uh lifting was like, the performance based lifting instead of bodybuilding, just focusing on aesthetics, was what really got me going. And at that time, I was lucky enough to find someone that was a bit of a mentor. He got me into strongman training. He was a strength and conditioning coach at the
Cool.
University of Florida, Matt Delancey, who is still still there. I'm still working with the Olympic teams there. And, I got kind of like hooked to the performance side of lifting. And that is what was my in to collegiate strength and conditioning as well. So, getting into strongman, getting into powerlifting, Olympic lifting, and really teaching my body how to get to where it is, performing at an optimal level, and matching that up with quality nutrition to yield the results, the outcomes, the ideal outcomes I'm looking for, which is more size, more strength, more explosiveness, more stamina, more athleticism. Um, that's what really got me going. And carrying that over into the strength and conditioning market that's allowed me to coach and work with athletes that allowed me to kind of, I wouldn't say live vicariously through, but in my mind, help teach them what allowed them to get the best outcomes for themselves.
Mm.
That was very rewarding for me. So I um, kind of crafted my own system in a way that utilized a lot of the components that allowed me to have success with my lifting career, my competitive lifting career,
Mhm.
and carry that over into existing like competitive athletes and football, baseball, um, grappling, wrestling, you name it, any
Yeah.
power athlete. It was very rewarding, and that's what really got me my start. Is basically going from an athlete myself to wanting to coach athletes to get the most out of their willingness to work hard.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's a good foundation.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna mix this with is your background in the outdoors and hunting. You were telling me that you're kind of a noob. So where did you get your start in hunting, and what got you interested in the outdoors?
Yeah. So
We're gonna marry
yeah,
these
yeah,
things
yeah, yeah,
throughout.
yeah.
So
So I am 100% an adult onset hunter. And it is 100% because when I graduated from college,
mhm,
probably that first 5 years, I was married to my pursuit of becoming a collegiate, like a head collegiate strength and conditioning coach. I was
mhm.
100% in on that.
Yeah.
And there was no, kind of work life balance. It was all work and I loved it.
Mhm,
But I quickly realized, like, all of a sudden 5 years out of college, I've lost touch with my friends. And my closest friends, one in particular, um, would always invite me to go out hunting on his lease in Georgia, and I'd always be like, man, I gotta run the gym because like it was my life, right?
mhm. Yeah.
And like when that's the case, and you have that kind of like addictive alpha personality, like so many of us probably do, like
Yeah.
everything else. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just like everything else is a distant second.
Yeah.
So one day you kind of wake up and realize, well, shit, like that's important to me, but I don't want to lose sight of everything else that's important. So on a whim, I just kind of took him up on an invitation to go out and uh and try to cull some does off of his property and just kind of
Uh-huh.
see what it was all about because he always talked so passionately about it and I never really understood it. Didn't have
Uh-huh.
anything against hunting. It just wasn't my thing and like wanted to try something new and was like, yeah, sure, why not? And was probably hooked from day one. Didn't know what I was doing, but I know whenever I was out there in the woods, I enjoyed it. And that
Yeah.
was the start of everything.
How long ago was that?
Shoot, that was probably, I'd say 10 years ago.
Okay.
10 years ago at this point.
And was it a rifle hunt, or were you bow
Rifle
hunting?
hunt, man.
Yeah,
Rifle hunt.
perfect.
I got like I'm now pretty much, I don't want to say exclusively going with a bow in hand, but in the beginning, like so many, like it was a rifle. Like
Yeah.
the barrier to entry is much lower with a rifle than it is with a bow. So
Yeah, man. I talk about that often when we're talking about mentoring, especially
mhm,
kids. Like, the target rich things are the way to go. And when
yeah,
they can bring the targets home that they're
yeah,
like, I'm like, take kids bluegill fishing. It's the best way
yeah,
to get them into the outdoors
yeah.
because they catch a ton of fish. And
Mhm,
then they think they have, I mean, you know how it is. Like, you can go out and sit in the woods, not see a deer. But if you've already seen a deer before,
yeah,
you just think you're going to see another one. And it
mhm,
doesn't matter how many you don't see.
yeah,
All you remember is the one that you did see,
yep.
you know? So 10 years, man, that's that's quite a bit of learning to do because you've actually come like real far. You're doing a lot of out of state trips, saving up points, going out, doing all these Western things. And you're from Georgia, correct?
No, from North Florida, like right
North
outside of
Florida.
Jacksonville. We're
Okay.
about 50 miles south of the Florida Georgia line.
Okay. So that's why you don't like, you don't want to do the cold weather thing.
No, hell no, man. I'm a baby. I'm a
Yeah.
baby when it comes to cold weather.
I have a hard time in Florida when you can cut the air with a knife, you know.
Yeah.
Um, do you still get to hunt with that friend?
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Very cool.
every year we go up to North Dakota on me and him and a couple other dudes. We'll go do a public land archery whitetail hunt. And that's just I mean, I discovered if you don't prioritize that relationship, if you don't prioritize, getting out and going and doing things like that, you'll lose friendships.
Yeah.
Having the group text helps these days, but at the same time, like there's nothing like those, um, the fellowship of going out with your buddies and going and doing fun, difficult things. You
Yeah.
know,
Where do you get your motive to do hunts like you did this year? Like we were talking, you've done 2 elk hunts this year or just 1?
just one this year. Just
Yeah.
one this year. I tell
You
you, that's usually all I've got time for, man. I
yeah,
don't have
yeah,
being from Florida, I don't have the luxury of just taking off for the entire month of September. Some
yeah,
do, I don't.
yeah. Well, and elk hunting is a serious
Yeah.
commitment because like whether you're I mean there's like, 3 or 4 days of that trip wrapped up in travel
Mhm,
for most people from the east, that's just kind of reality.
mhm.
Um what really motivates you to do a hard hunt like that? Cuz you're bow hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a couple things. I've always told myself I wanna do as many cool things in as many cool places with as many cool people as I can for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I am now in I'm now in my 40s. I'm in good physical shape. I've been very lucky to maintain my health, but I also prioritize that, and I want to keep that going and have the ability to do these cool things in cool places with cool people for as long as I possibly can. I in my mind, I want to die on empty.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't want to look back and regret not being able to do those things on my deathbed. So in my mind, I've got to make it a priority to do these fun things now while I still have my health.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like the elk hunts that I prefer doing are are not your typical canned ranch hunts. They're
Uh-huh.
ones that if if you have any opportunity in a week, that
Uh-huh.
is a win.
Yeah.
All right. That like anything legal is a trophy. That is not just a saying. When you put 15 miles in on like per day,
Yeah.
that I mean your your desire for a 350-inch bull can get
Yeah.
it gets
Oh
put
yeah.
it's put in perspective. Like a cow is a trophy
Yeah.
of public land with high pressure with a bow in hand.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really pushes me is the idea of doing something extremely difficult to kind of humble you, to purify you in a way, and to really get you to kind of convince yourself that you can do hard things and you can rise above the difficulties that every single day will throw at you out in the elk woods.
Yeah.
So it challenges you mentally and physically, and whether your idea of success is harvesting an animal or not, you will, if you have the right mindset, leave a hunt like that a better person.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, man.
So
I
it's chasing that kind of the idea of like self-actualization,
uh-huh.
achieving the best version of yourself possible that really gets me going.
Yeah. So for your training, and we're mostly talking about in relation to elk hunting, but I think that this, whenever we're talking about training, can translate to any hunt
Mhm,
because you need it for every type. I mean, if you're a freak, if you want to go hunt chuckers in Idaho at
mhm,
8,000 feet, you still need training to do that. If you're gonna, hunt squirrels in Kentucky on the up and down hills through the thick stuff,
mhm.
you still need the training.
Yeah,
Or again, we talked about this in our short episode. You don't need it, but you're going to love it when you have it.
mhm.
So, for your typical training, are you using kettlebells for everything, or are you kind of mixing and matching the things to do these types of hard things?
Most people will just see my kettlebell training when they visit, let's say, my YouTube page.
Yeah, and this is why
Oh,
I asked because I
um,
I see
and
some other stuff.
there's other things that I will work in just to prevent staleness, and also to introduce new stimulus to force more of the adaptations that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Right. So, the reason I'm such a big fan of kettlebells in general is it's like carrying around a Leatherman. It's a Swiss Army
Mhm.
knife.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it can do it all. So it's
Yeah.
very efficient with its ability to deliver a very high return on investment
Mhm.
with your fitness.
Yeah.
So, although it does kind of work itself into the kind of center stage or the foundation of my approach to training, there are other implements that I will work in to accomplish other specific goals and just to keep me interested.
Mhm.
All right. And ultimately in fitness, I tell people like anything and everything can get the job done
Yeah.
as long as you put it to use.
Mhm.
Like kettlebells work, dumbbells work, barbells work, body weight works, bands, sandbags, you name it, but you have to put in that work.
Yeah.
It's just I tell people find what works for you and then put in the work.
Yeah. So, for you personally, and not talking from your, and this might be something you haven't really thought of, and you probably like specifically, if you're going to be your own coach today, you're not coaching me, you're not coaching the next guy. Why is training, other than like you said, you want to be able to do these things for as long as you possibly can, and you're over 40, you want to make this last. But personally, why is training so important to your own hunt?
Training. Okay, so let's go back to you asking the question of is it required or is it mandatory for you to be in good shape to be, let's say, a whitetail hunter?
Yep.
That's kind of like a loaded question, but um I think it's a situation where it's better to have and not need and not have. And
Mhm.
in a situation like this, I ask myself, is being in top shape going to increase or decrease your chances or likelihood of success in any hunt?
Mhm.
And when you ask yourself and answer that honestly, there is never a situation ever where being in better shape will decrease your chances to have a successful outcome on any given hunt. It will
Mhm.
only help.
Yep.
It will
Yeah.
only help. Increase strength, increase stamina, increase mobility. It will only help you. And when it comes to hunters, it's a unique demographic, it's a unique, population of people that typically are willing to do whatever it takes to put themselves in just a little bit better position for the success that they want. And I think fitness is creeping up in its importance for many of them, but it's still
Uh-huh.
lagging behind. There's still a lot of people that want to focus on like the low effort, kind of in their mind, low hanging fruit ways to improve their odds, like picking the right camouflage.
Yeah.
Like those are, like, in my mind, those are not the things that you should be focusing on.
Well, I'll go a step ahead and say there are like the low hanging fruit is the 150-inch whitetail on public land where it's really hard to get to, right? The low hanging fruit now is using e-bikes where it's not legal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I have people are probably tired of me talking about this. I hate e-bikes because they're not legal here. Okay. You can use them on state forest in Pennsylvania. You
Mhm.
cannot use them on state game lands. So there's, a couple different types of properties here. But I see everybody using them. It doesn't matter where they are. And I know our game commission is trying to like crack down on that and whatever. But the low hanging fruit is to make it easier. When I started, I've whitetail hunted my whole life. Like I could start hunting when I was 12. I'm 37 now.
Mhm.
And I did a lot of farm hunting growing up, but we would go into the mountains hiking or whatever. So for me, when I started public land whitetail hunting maybe 9, 8, or actually maybe around 10 years ago. I
Mhm.
really got into the public whitetail thing. And for me, the motive was how hard can I make this? And again, where do I need to be to kill the deer that
Yeah.
I'm looking for? And it was like, all right, I need a pack. I need a good mobile setup. I need all this stuff. And a mountain bike was fine. Like, a normal pedal yourself bike, which in my opinion is a lot harder than hiking. But then these e-bikes came out and now they're everywhere. And that's one of the low hanging fruit. But to me, and this probably relates to you, I don't want it the easy way.
Yeah.
I want it the right. I want it to do it right. I want, if it was legal to use an e-bike, then I wouldn't have a problem with them.
Mhm.
But everything that I've done to hunt is to keep everything as clean as possible because, and I want to hear what you think about this. If I've done it the wrong way, it is no longer a trophy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what work I put into it. If I did the wrong thing to get that animal, it completely nullifies. Like, what do you think about that?
I think everyone, number one, every hunter needs to have their code of ethics
Uh-huh.
and ask themselves where their core values lie.
Uh-huh.
And you or I are not anyone to really judge someone for their own specific views, but I will say I align myself with more or less your exact frame of thought. Like
Yeah.
an e-bike for me, like just coming from a fitness professional, like as a point of principle, like no,
Yeah, I,
no,
I
like
know.
no, get your ass off of that thing. And if you want a bike, pedal it yourself,
Yeah.
manpower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not e-bike. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, be better.
It's
Right.
hilarious
But
because I see all these people riding them for exercise, and I'm like,
I mean, look, I get it. It does make it easier, but
yeah,
in my mind, like, what are you chasing? Are you chasing easy or efficient? In my
right.
mind, efficiency is what you should chase. And
Uh-huh.
you, for success in hunting, if you're looking for efficiency, maybe do a little bit more work in your scouting, and make it more efficient for you to kind of put yourself in better spots.
Yeah.
Put in more effort on the scouting side of things so that you put yourself in a spot that gives you a better chance for success. That
Yeah.
might mean going a little further off the road, might not, but until you put feet on the ground and check it out yourself, you won't know. So in my mind, that's efficient.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
it requires a little bit more effort, yeah, but it does make you way more efficient of a hunter.
Yeah,
You
I
know, like
agree.
it doesn't matter how long you say, like like the guys that kill over and over again, they're the ones that put in the work that most people aren't willing to put in.
Yeah. So, talking from the hunting side of things, you are talking a lot about scouting and boots on the ground. When you're doing out of state kind of stuff, what is your main focus on, you know, honing in on an area to hunt? Let's talk about your antelope hunt specifically.
Well, you have to obviously look at the species, look at the habitat they typically, reside in, and what's motivating them at that particular time of the year, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's true for all species. So where I was hunting in Wyoming, it was a lot of sagebrush. There's a lot
Yep.
of kind of like rolling hills. Um, so you look at the topography there. They're not animals that go up too high. They're in plains. They're using
Uh-huh.
their eyes and their speed to kind of evade predators, right? So your objective is to kind of in that cat and mouse way figure out ideally where they're going to be at what time of the day. You use weather, you use topography, you use what they're, ideally feeding on, their water, everything. You kind of figure out where they're likely to be at certain times. Now, I will say this about antelope specifically, and I am by no means an expert, but they just just the hunting I've done on them alone, I can tell you they are nowhere near as patternable as a whitetail is.
Yeah.
Whitetail, they can be absolute ghosts, but for the most part, they're pretty patternable, and their range isn't going to be near as extensive as most other Western species.
Right.
So you can kind of pinpoint, um, where they're not gonna be, but likely to be, and that kind of helps you out. But antelope, man, like they're like when I was out there didn't seem to be much rhyme or reason. Like
Yeah.
there's certain principles that are proven. If it's hot and it's gonna be dry out there because it's sagebrush,
Yeah.
so if it's hot and there's no rain, then you sit water. It's not
Yeah.
fun, but if you want to be successful, that's a proven way to be successful.
Uh-huh.
If it's not, then your best bet's going to be spot and stalk, and that presents its own challenges and difficulties. But at the end of the day, certain principles stay true for any and all species when it comes to
Yeah.
that scouting.
So, where does your training come into a specific hunt like that? And we already kind of talked about this, but we'll kind of reiterate it for the listeners that are listening to this full episode. Where does your training vary for things like I'm going to spot and stalk an antelope, or I have to sit in a teeny tiny blind for an antelope, or I'm going to work on VO2 max because I'm hunting an elk, or I'm trying to get 18 feet in a tree 5 miles in for a whitetail?
So obviously, like I said earlier, you have to pinpoint where and what you're hunting.
Uh-huh.
The where is going to be what the topography is like. Is it going to be, thin air? Is it going to require you to be in really good shape, both aerobically as well as anaerobically?
Uh-huh.
And then the what you're hunting is going to be kind of kind of a little bit of the same flavor. Like
Uh-huh.
antelope, you don't have to worry about getting too high and into rough places. You have to worry about staying like having good mobility in joints that can put you in, awkward positions that you're not really comfortable in. And that's not
Mhm.
going to happen if you are really tight. Okay. So in a spot and stalk scenario, let's say, let's talk about antelope.
Yep.
You have to be able to stay low in and spots where it's hard to stay out of sight.
Mhm.
And to do so, it requires you to have good mobility in your hips and your spine, and also be able to possibly draw back with your bow, like in a non-conventional, non-easy manner.
Yep.
And unless you prioritize that mobility, you're not going to have success. You're going to get busted. Same
Mhm.
thing. Let's say if you're hunting whitetail up in a tree,
Mhm.
like you might have to, like, let's just getting to that tree might not be a clear, path. You might
Right.
need to be able to kind of, you know, hike your leg up over some nasty stuff or a
Mhm.
fence, things that you don't really think about, but play a role in the ease of getting you to where you need to be. And then just getting up into a tree. Like,
Mhm.
dude, I it's never fun, you know, climbing up into a tree. It's like
Dude,
it presents its when you're older, it presents its own difficulties, and those difficulties are not as arduous or rigorous if you do have mobility and
mhm.
strength and balance on your side, which can be cultivated through a dedicated game plan in the gym setting.
Yeah. So for the part of the gym setting when it comes to hunting, why is your primary choice kettlebells? And could you, people are always worried about we did already talk about adding things in and kind of varying everything. But if you wanted to, could you build an entire routine just dedicated kettlebells only? I'm not doing anything else.
My answer to that is 100% yes. And it's just because kettlebells offer a unique opportunity for you to address pretty much every single aspect of fitness. It
Mhm.
allows you to improve speed and explosiveness. It
Mhm.
allows you to improve maximal strength. It allows you to improve strength endurance. It
Yeah.
allows you to improve your lean mass, building muscle. And it also allows for you to improve cardiovascular health too, all in one tight little package.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it requires you to understand how to manipulate that weight into achieving each one of those avenues of fitness through different rep ranges, how, like, the tempo of each lift and things of that nature. But it's essentially, like I said, like a Swiss Army knife. It's a Leatherman. It's an
Mhm.
all-in-one implement that, for those that, like, aren't just passionate about lifting weights,
Mhm.
it's just like a one-stop shop. And most people, especially hunters, let's say, they just want something that will improve their 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 likelihood of success. And that it's just like I said, it's a more efficient, more compact, and more sensible way to accomplish those goals so that you can put yourself in better positions for success.
Yeah. Why do you think it's a better choice for people that are over 40, especially, men over 40?
Specifically for men over 40, and there's a couple different answers for this, but one particularly that I'm sure will resonate with a lot of likely your listeners here is the fact that they allow you to work around life's circumstances. All right. What pushed me into kettlebell training wasn't that it was a fad, wasn't that I thought that a lot of people would like to see it. It was the fact
Yeah.
that my business was growing and I had kids. you combine those two things with the fact that I got tired of waiting for a bench or a squat rack to open up at a local gym,
Mhm.
and it created a scenario where I was like, I got to figure out a better way to do things moving forward. Otherwise, my ability to prioritize my own fitness is going to deteriorate. And fitness, like let's say shooting a bow, is a perishable skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um I had to figure out what would work given the circumstances I was facing in my daily life. So I was dealing with having less and less time on a daily basis that I could dedicate to my own specific fitness goals. And also, like, I didn't have the desire to go to a conventional big box gym anymore.
Right.
And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, shoot, like I could just have a couple kettlebells at home.
Yep.
And as long as I'm disciplined enough and make that training a non-negotiable on a daily basis, I could I could utilize 20 to 30 minutes on a daily basis to achieve each and every one of the goals I've had. Now, it does change. Like I no longer have the same goals of, like let's say in my powerlifting and strongman competitive days of trying to lift ungodly weights. But my definition of strength has evolved with the changes in my life's circumstances and my
Mhm.
life's different variables that I must face on a daily basis. And I'm
Yep.
sure a lot of people have that same sentiment. And the kettlebell just answered more and more of those questions that I had. The clear answer was the kettlebell is a solution. It's not the only solution. You could just as
Mhm.
easily, use a dumbbell at home, but and there's people that do that. They use bands or they use sandbags or just their own body weight.
Mhm.
And those are great, but the kettlebell just allowed for me to um, build up everything that I was looking for with my fitness goals in just one tight little package. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you're talking about archery routine, uh, what's your archery routine and how do kettlebells make that better for you?
So, my archery routine is based more on having success as a hunter these days than it was in the very beginning when I was really, without knowing, just trying to be like a better target shooter or a better
Yep.
3D shooter.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is this, and I'm sure it's the same with a lot of people that get into archery. In the very beginning, you have to hone your craft.
Mhm.
Right? You have to get good at shooting a bow.
Yep.
You have to understand your process. You have to build your process, your shot process.
Yeah.
That takes reps. And in the very beginning, it's important to nail down that that whole process and do it in an ideal environment. The more comfortable you get with that though, the more if you are trying to have success as a bow hunter, you're going to need to evolve into a more sport specific type of training.
Mhm.
And for that, that means putting yourself in the situations that you're likely going to face in the woods.
Yeah.
So that means instead of just being in a situation where I'm completely loose, standing up, like in the backyard and shooting the 3D target in a perfect scenario, I'm doing things differently now.
Yep.
I'm shooting these days instead of in a ideal light situation, I'm gonna be shooting in low light situations. So
Mhm.
these days, my shooting sessions are either done early in the morning at first light
Mhm.
or the last 30 minutes of legal light in low
Yeah.
light situations. Why? Because you and I both know that's the most likely scenario you're going to have
Where you're gonna
for
mess
your
up.
shot opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. There's the fact that, um, like, let's say if you're chasing elk, there's a high likelihood that the shot opportunity you're going to get is where you have to chase them down and kind of intercept them in a way.
Yep.
And to get to where you need to be from where you were, you're going to be huffing and puffing. So another way to make it more sport specific is to have that heart rate up and try to control your shot while that heart rate is up. So
Uh-huh.
instead of, shooting in a perfect situation, I will, drop down and do, 10 to 20 push-ups and then 10 to 20 squats, have my muscles pumping, my heart rate jumping, and then try to pull back and execute a solid shot while I'm in that state.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is um you can get into weird positions. You can be
Uh-huh.
kneeling down. You can be laying down and then kind of having to sit up and draw in a weird contorted position and pull back and squeeze off a shot with that. You can hold for a long time, which
Uh-huh.
you're hunting elk, like you're gonna likely have to hold for longer than you're accustomed to in a perfect situation. So
Yeah.
there's different things you can do to make your training more sport specific for bow hunting so that when you do have that opportunity, you're less likely to have that kind of like buck fever, if you will,
Yeah.
take over. It's
Yeah.
gonna happen. It's like I've never like anyone that doesn't have some degree of that buck fever, if you will, is like I don't know how you do it. Like I guess if you're a psychopath, like you can be completely calm, but like
You
if
probably just don't care that much,
yeah,
to be
exactly.
completely honest.
If it means something to you, you're gonna have it because you're
Yeah.
excited, right? But it's how you control that and what you've done to train to control it that matters. And through proper training, you can at least get yourself to be able to um execute in your best way possible, right?
I'm glad you brought that up. Buck fever comes up a lot on this show. What is for you, is it something that happens like instantaneously or is it something that kind of builds if you see an animal for a long time? And what do you do to remedy that? Because to some extent, it's really hard to control buck fever, but you do have to overcome like the shakes, the adrenaline rush to be able to make a good ethical shot
Mhm.
that's going to put that animal in your freezer ultimately.
I think it's there's different plays in place. So let's say there's a scenario where I'm in a good spot, I'm whitetail hunting and I see a buck going through and hitting multiple scrapes
Uh-huh.
or like just they're meandering around and they're feeding into the script that you've kind of built out in your head that it's going to happen. In
Uh-huh.
my mind, I like those scenarios because it
Uh-huh.
allows me to kind of slow down after that initial, oh, there he is, and your heart rate's up.
Yeah.
You can consciously, if you've trained yourself to kind of slow your heart rate down,
Uh-huh.
mentally cue yourself to just follow your process, follow your process, follow your process. Pick out a spot where if you think he's likely to, let's say, come out, you kind of piece together the game plan. And when you just focus on that process and how it's ideally going to play out, you can slow it down to the point where you don't get all shaky and freak out and just lose your mind. All
Yeah.
right. So I like those scenarios because it allows me to slow down and just check boxes. All
Yeah.
right. Where is he likely to come out? Like, so I'm going to range that spot slowly before, let's say, he gets there. Where's his blind spot where I can pull back and not get busted?
Uh-huh.
Right. Well, like everything kind of slows down when you have the benefit or the advantage of seeing him in that scenario. But like on the flip side of things, when it's bang bang, like when he just kind of comes out of nowhere, that's
Those are the
those are the
worst.
situations that are tough for me.
Yeah.
The tough thing for me is typically the range. I can usually, as long as I can get the full draw, like in my mind, I've told myself if I get a full draw, that's a dead animal.
Uh-huh.
That's what, like, my confidence from shooting enough. That's what my confidence tells me.
Yep.
So long as I don't get busted on that, I'm good. But I have, kind of misranged, a couple times and
Yeah.
lost an animal because of that, whether it be
Yeah.
a bad shot or just a clean miss.
Yeah.
And that comes when you kind of like it's almost like you forget that part of the process.
Yeah.
That's a form of buck fever, not ranging them to confirm.
Well, it's part of what messes up.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a specific story, and I want to see if you have anything similar. Last year, I was hunting. It was October 29th, I think, right?
Mhm.
And so the bucks were actually, for a couple days, we were noticing like a lot of chasing. We're sitting. It's 8:30. It's kind of the time where things move a lot, but the woods was absolutely dead. Next thing, I hear a stick break, and I turn around, and there's a doe running straight towards me, right? And this right behind her, I just see the rack coming, right? He's not a giant buck, but I'm quite honest, like I'm not a giant buck killer. I love to look for them. I love to chase them, but I have like 110-inch, like I love them. Like
Mhm.
if I have a chance at 110-inch deer, like I'm taking it, like,
Yeah.
so this deer was like somewhere between 115 and 120. So he's a really nice 8-pointer. And I hate waking up for the time change. So I have the other motive, you know.
Yeah.
And this buck is just like they're full out sprinting, and they're 60 yards away, right? I'm like, oh shoot. So I grab my bow, I draw it back, and I'm like, that deer's gonna be like, he's coming through the stuff. I'm like, the only place I have to shoot him for where he's coming is 10 yards, right? And I killed a deer there the year before. I'm like, oh, dead. And I draw back, and I'm having a hard time stopping him. I'm like, rat, and he stops behind a tree. He starts running again, and rat stops behind another tree. Now I'm like, oh no, what's happening? And like finally got him to stop. And there was some stuff in the way, but I'm like, I didn't sneak it through that hole. And I went to sneak it through the hole and just, it didn't even think about my shot. Stopped completely thinking, right? Because in the meantime, I'm thinking, oh, I got a good shot process. He's going to be where I want him to be. And something else happened in that scenario
Mhm.
where I couldn't get him to stop. Right. And I finally stopped him. And instead of being like, okay, like I could have taken 2 more seconds to be like, oh, my bubble's not right. Or
Yeah.
like I'm canting or whatever. And I just yanked that trigger and completely shot under his. Thankfully, I didn't hit him because I shot straight under his groin. Like not even close. I was like, what in the world? And I just watch him trot off with his doe, right? And I'm thinking, you
What
know,
just happened?
so do you have any specific stories where you had to kind of tame that adrenaline in that immediate? Because I am the same way. If I have time to think about it, and like
Yeah.
I watched my one of my biggest, not my biggest, but one of my biggest archery bucks. Just I watched him for 35 minutes chewing his cud and scratching his back with his antlers at 15 yards.
Mhm.
And he finally came out from that bush, and I smoked him. But I had a long time to just like settle in, and I knew when he was coming out exactly what I was going to do. But in that immediate action, do you have something like that that you can share?
In my experience, there's a couple things that have caused me to fail in the past.
Uh-huh.
Um, when I've had clean misses in the past, and the clean misses are as a result of not double confirming a range,
Yeah.
and that usually has to do, in my mind, with one of the other mistakes that I know I've made and commonly other people make is that they think they have to rush a shot. In my mind, in every situation where I've like shot and killed an animal, like in hindsight, I always had way more time than I thought I had.
Right.
And I think a lot of people just in general, like they rush a shot
Mm-hmm.
because they think that like, it has to be rushed.
Yeah.
So, um, like there's one time in particular, I was sitting on water in North Dakota and, um, I had I had a whitetail come in his last light. I had probably it was enough light to where like there wasn't any like I saw all my pins and
Yeah.
there was one coming probably just like, came in right through some cattails and it was a 15 yard, it would have been a 15-yard frontal shot, which I'm not a fan of, but
Mm-hmm.
if it's 15 yards, like I'm smoking that deer,
Yep.
right? But I was kind of dug in a hole. I was on the ground because in North Dakota, there's just not a lot of trees.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd kind of like dug a little divot and was just sitting. I was in a ghillie suit to just kind of blend in with some of the cattails. And I kind of crouched down. I bent over. I was on my knees, crouched down, kind of did like a little pull like this, and
Mm-hmm.
then slowly came up. And I don't know what happened. I mean, it's a 15-yard shot. I can make that with my eyes closed
Yeah.
in perfect situation, but I think maybe I didn't take a little bit of extra time to see what I was, you know, kind of shooting around or trying to shoot through, and somehow I just missed. And to this day, like the only thing I can think of is I didn't take enough time. I know I didn't misrange it because it was like I knew
Yeah.
if in that
When it's under
that
20, it's
entire
hard to
sit,
misrange
yeah,
them.
it's exactly. So I'm like, it's one of those things where you think like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? And the only thing I can come up with is it wasn't a misrange. It was just not taking that a little bit of extra time, maybe allowing him to have one more step to kind of get to where it cleared to where the arrow path would, you know, not hit something. Because that
Yeah.
in my mind, that was the only thing that could have happened. It kind of
Right.
hit something and kind of threw it off. But there's those situations, and I think if you tell yourself to slow down, and if you tell yourself, and it's hard to do, you've got more time than you realize,
Mm-hmm.
then I think your odds of success will dramatically increase. But it's hard to
Yeah.
do, man. It is
It
hard.
is.
It is so hard.
It is because we've all been busted by an
Yeah.
animal,
Yeah.
and that happens in a matter of seconds,
Yep.
right? But when you're talking about having more time, generally it boils down to probably 1 to 3 seconds.
Yep.
And when you're talking about settling your pins, that's not that long, especially when it's a
Oh,
15-yard shot,
yeah.
right? Because probably something that I've missed plenty of deer with my bow. And something is like I'm either like too far, like my peep isn't lined up.
Yeah.
I'm looking straight at my pins, not forgetting to line my peep up or whatever. Or, when you're shooting from a saddle, not kind of
Mhm.
doing, bending at the hip and you're dropping your
Yeah.
arm,
Yep.
completely changing the way your form is.
Yep.
But literally all it would have taken was between 1 and 3 seconds to fix that problem, and probably not a busted animal.
Yeah.
I mean, because usually it takes a little bit longer than that to do that.
Yeah. And a lot of
And
times I feel like sometimes you don't trust like your eyes in that sense. Like you look at the body language, let's say.
Mhm.
If the body language says they're just completely kind of settled, they're not skittish, then you do have time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do have time.
100%.
If you got to full draw without them busting you, you like unless they're just like really squirrely, they're really like just kind of skittish, you got time.
Yeah.
And it's like we put like I think we tend to put so much pressure on ourselves because let's say we've been sitting all damn day, and in your mind, in the back of your head, you're like, it's coming down to this. It's crunch time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you think you kind of trick yourself into mistrusting what your eyes are seeing. If
Yeah.
your eyes are seeing that it's an animal that does not know you're there and is
Yep.
completely relaxed, then you do have time. But you're
Absolutely.
almost like a lot of times everyone probably has a tendency to kind of rush a shot because they don't tell themselves they have that time.
Yeah. I fully
You know?
agree. I fully agree. When it comes to training, as far as archery goes and your health and fitness, something that I see a lot of hunters doing is they train, train, train. And I am very guilty of this too, because, well, I don't, maybe it's just human nature. I don't know. It's really easy for me to get out of a good workout routine because I'm either, hiking, biking, climbing, whatever it happens to be. Most like I'm like 18 sits in this season.
Mhm.
It's a lot, it gets to be a lot. And then you're doing it around work and whatever. How do you keep how do you stay consistent in the season? Is it easy for you because of your background? And what would you tell somebody that's looking for advice on how to be consistent in your health and training throughout the season?
Um, and once I had to grab my battery charger,
You're fine, buddy.
like I'm on like 10% juice here. What I would say is this, it's what I've noticed with a lot of hunters is they do have that kind of all or nothing mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to fitness, that's one of the worst things you can really have. I tell
Mm-hmm.
people like oftentimes to just instead of trying to really force something that's not there, and having this kind of like all or nothing mentality, take what the day gives you. Take what the day gives you and focus on just daily progress over this notion of perfection that you will never achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of progress over perfection, chasing down that 1% better every day and taking what the day gives you, whether it's, just if your day is just getting crazy out of hand and like nothing's lining up, um, if all you can do is a 10-minute mobility routine, that is still progress. That is better than sitting your ass on the couch and doing nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So like what and it's so different when you're in your, let's say, teens, 20s, or early 30s, let's say, and you don't have so many of the variables in life that have a tendency to hinder your ability to just knock it out of the park every day and just grind your way to progress.
Yeah.
Um, you have to kind of mentally tell yourself that it's okay to just accept those little wins and just move the chains. Like a sacrifice fly or sacrifice bunt in my 40s is progress to me.
Yeah.
Whereas in my teens and 20s and 30s, before I had kids, before I had just more on my plate with business, in my mind, that was a loss because I told myself, like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
The wrong mindset to have.
Yeah.
When you evolve into a stage of life where you do have more riding on you,
Mm-hmm.
you have a family to feed and provide for, and when you have a business to run, or let's say you got a lot of work responsibilities, um, you're not gonna have the luxury of time like you did before those variables kind of worked your way into your life. So
Right.
you have to learn to give yourself a little bit of grace and lean into just those little wins that still inch you forward. Because if you're able to kind of stay consistent and just
Mm-hmm.
show up daily, take
Mm-hmm.
what the day gives you, and just get a little bit of progress every single day, the cumulative effect over that long haul is going to yield, in my mind, way more returns than if you have this all or nothing mindset and go balls to the wall for, let's say, like just a month or so, but you have a couple bad days in a row where you just nothing worked out, and you
Mhm.
have that like, well, like if I can't do it, like if I can't do it all, then it's not worth doing. And then all of a sudden you fall off, you know, the warpath. Like that's like if you can just kind of marry yourself to this idea of progress over perfection
Yeah.
and just taking what the day gives you, you'll find over the long haul you're going to make way more progress than if you have this all or nothing mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I love that. I fully agree. So at the end of the podcast, I always try to lure people into this with a really good story, right? So I want you to tell me one of your favorite hunting memories and favorite hunting stories that you can think of. It can be a success. It doesn't have to be. It can be whatever it was.
Oh God. Um, I would probably say the first whitetail that I shot with my bow. Um, and it's like for me hunting, it's it's all about like and I think you mentioned it earlier, like what's your trophy? Like your trophy is what you kind of make of it and what it means to you, right? And
Uh-huh.
so for me, a trophy wouldn't be a trophy in a sense if I didn't put effort into it. If I didn't sacrifice, if I didn't go through that roller coaster of emotions to
Uh-huh.
achieve it.
Uh-huh.
And everything that led up to me finally having that first whitetail under my belt with my bow, like it's like it's your typical story. Like it's just one miss or one missed opportunity or one mess up after the other, and you eventually you start to questions like, is this possible? Right?
Uh-huh.
Like with a bow, it's very different than with a rifle, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, like one of the biggest obstacles with someone getting into bow hunting is honestly, in my mind, convincing yourself that it's possible.
Uh-huh.
And I had gone 2 seasons into my bow hunting career, if you will, without, you know, without putting an arrow through a whitetail.
Uh-huh.
And I was on a sit in North Dakota. It was getting dark, and there was probably, I'd say, about 10 minutes of legal light left. And like so many people probably do when they're discouraged, when they're in like day 5 of, let's say, like a week long hunt,
Uh-huh.
they start to put things away too early.
Uh-huh.
And I was starting to get in that mindset, like starting to get out like, okay, well, like, well, like, well, let's start to kind of, take the stabilizers off and put them in the backpack. And like, I was starting to kind of get there. And just when I was about to just mentally check out,
Uh-huh.
um, you know, things aligned. Like something about like something told me to just give it that extra 10 minutes. Like it doesn't hurt. Like what's another 10 minutes if you've been sitting for 4 hours at this point, right?
Uh-huh.
And having that just enough of that discipline, just enough of that focus, and just enough of that the kind of ability to stay in the moment and stay focused on the task at hand, following the process. Um, I was rewarded. You can call it the deer gods, you can call it whatever, luck, whatever, but by not doing everything in my like everything that my mind was kind of playing tricks on me and telling me to do, which was just to kind of get just get out of there, get back to the truck. By just staying put and following the process, it seemed like the universe rewarded me because not probably 30 seconds later, a solid, 3.5-year-old deer, mature deer, which on public land, like I'll take
Mm-hmm.
that any day of the week.
Yeah.
Stepped out and allowed for a shot opportunity right at probably 20, like it was right on my 20-yard pin. There was just enough like light to I didn't even need to range it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did range it just like slow, like just followed my process that I told myself I was gonna just regardless. Like I don't care if I get busted. I'm going to follow the process and
Yep.
let it play out the way it's intended to play out. And everything lined up perfectly, settled my pin, arrowed the deer, went 50 yards, and it was my first kill. And looking back on that, to me, it highlights the need for you to be present, be
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, and just just commit to being in that moment instead of allowing your past failures and your kind of your psyche to kind of play tricks on you and getting you to fold up shop and quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is such it condenses down life and success, like your ability to have success in life in a nutshell. And
Yeah.
that's what so many people I think why they love hunting, because if you really look at it, it does condense down success and failure so much.
Yeah.
Like it could be it was much easier for me to just quit on that hunt and get back to the truck faster, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't
That's
have
so
been
true.
successful. But by committing to having just the presence of mind to just stay in the moment and follow your process and just be disciplined, the universe rewarded me. Like you cannot convince me otherwise. Like that was 1%, like the dear gods, anointing me. Okay, you're worthy. In my mind, that's what it was. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of think to myself, when you do play by the rules, when you do fall in line, when you do commit to just like following the process
Mm-hmm.
and doing the things necessary to put you in better positions for success, it doesn't guarantee success, but it dramatically increases your odds.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can just commit to that, you will have better outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's why,
Yeah.
in my mind, that is
It's so true, dude.
it's why I love it, and it frustrates you, but like when you are successful, it makes it worth it. And that's life in a nutshell, man. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hard to stay on track. It's hard to stay on the line. But when you do, that's what over time will yield the success that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that, dude. That's also true. That was a great story too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to be sensitive to your time. We have been on here for like an hour and a half. It's been a great conversation. It went quick. Can you tell people where they can follow you at and see all your coaching and how they can get involved with your stuff you got going on?
Yeah, so the simplest place to find me on and the best place to find me on is going to be YouTube. So if you just go into YouTube and look up Chandler Marchman, you'll see my fitness channel there. If Instagram is your jam, then go on there and look up Coach Mandler and Mandler, and you can find me there. But at the end of the day, those two places are where you can find the actionable content that will allow you to just kind of put my tutelage into play and find success that it will deliver if you commit to it. So yeah. Those two places.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I so much appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's been good to talk to you.
A blast.
Well, that's a wrap, InCamp. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to check out Chandler Marchman's acknowledgments on the show notes. His links for his YouTube channel and his Instagram are on there. You really need to follow this guy. If you could leave the show a rating and review wherever you listen, it really helps this show reach more ears. You can follow it at InCamp_podcast on Instagram. You can email me at InCampPodcast@gmail.com to send me topic suggestions or whatever you want to do. Thanks for listening this week. This is InCamp Podcast.